Hello and welcome to week one, part C. Hopefully these shorter videos work. For another class, I did a bunch of analysis on my classes, and one of the consistent comments is instead of having a long video, have shorter videos. And let me know what you think, because again, I'd rather have a long video where I can pause it, go grab some popcorn, come back, grab lunch, pause it, but people seem to want shorter videos, so that's what I'm trying to accommodate for. This one's even going to probably be shorter than the last one. So let's dig in. So this part is related to how we have the data and why it's turning into information important. It's an expensive process. So why do it? What changed? Why are we doing this? So let's keep going a little bit. And this DIKW, hopefully you learn this in some other classes. It is so important. Not necessarily because of the DIKW, but because this is how you should always be thinking. On this class, in any project, in anything you're doing, this is what you should do. You have data. So every time I go to UNLV at 4:30, well, I'm going to record my time. I leave the house, go to UNLV at whatever, 4:30. That's my data. And I have hundreds of trips to UNLV, blah, blah, blah. Then I start adding context. Well, I want to know what's the optimal time to leave UNLV. I start analyzing. Oh, hey, look, this day I had a meeting, so I left at 3. This day it was a holiday, so I left at 5 or 6. This day I did that. Then I start driving knowledge. So I know that if I leave at 3, my commute is 12 minutes. If I leave at 4:30, my commute is 45 minutes. If I leave at 3, because I have all the data, if I leave at 3, my commute is 12 minutes. If I leave at 4:30, I'm sitting in traffic almost an hour. And then, so I know now to leave at 3, or I can leave at 3:30 and get there in 18 minutes. And you do this with everything now. You do this with your classes. Here's a syllabus, here's the grades, here's how do I get to the wisdom so I can predict things. How can I do this with money? How can I do this with life? So it really is the idea that you have data, you derive, you clean it, you format it, and then it tells you something, tells you something's going to happen, and then it gives you a way to prevent it or to encourage it. I know that if here's all my banking data. Okay, for my banking data, here is the summary. Oh, look at that. I'm going to go negative because I've been drinking at the bar too much. So I'm going to be negative and I can't pay my rent. Well, that's going to be a problem. So my wisdom would be, hey, maybe if I don't go to the bar too much, don't spend, or I go to the bar only during happy hour or whatever, then I can have money for rent. It just everything you do should be driven by this foundational model. And I know it sounds dumb and crazy, but it does. If you can figure out a way to make life, it will help. This was a Davenport and Persk, I believe, that did this. Okay. And those who climbed the ladder, the pyramid, just do better in life. So, what changed that made data so valuable in the business? Well, market dynamics. It's easier now the barrier for entry is easier for most businesses. So you have to know your audience, you have to know your market, you have to know exactly what you're doing data-wise. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to survive because another competitor is going to knock you out. And we see this happening all the time. We see businesses getting into a new business, and because of a failure to understand the whole business, a failure of understanding the data, they lose money. I was just reading an article about an insurance company somewhere up in Portland, and they were losing millions of dollars for the last 3 years because they thought they were going to make a ton of money, and it didn't happen. And it's just bad data that they made a decision off of. Digitalization, that's something new. In the past, doctors, for a great example, use fax machines, and you look at the fax and they did this. Now everything, not everything. Now the faxes come in. We digitalize them. We make them text. We check them for spelling. So there's 4 or 5 copies, and then we send an order. There's another copy. Everything now is digitalized and duplicated. And good or bad, that does make life somewhat easier. I mean, if you look, let's say 20 years ago, I don't know really when Yelp came out. 20 years ago, Yelp might not have been around. So we didn't have all these reviews. We didn't have Google reviews. We didn't have all these hundreds of reviews on a business. So now what I could do is I could look and say, hey, I want to open a dentist shop. I want to become a dentist. What I could do is look at all the dentists in town, figure out which ones had really bad rating and what zip code. I could look at every zip code and grab all the dentist reviews off Yelp and say, hey, this zip code, there's no really good dentist. If I just open up a dental shop, sounds weird, and as long as I had good customer service, I'd make a killing. I don't even have to advertise. I just have to put a good dentist in this zip code, and since there are none, I'd make money. Again, this, I keep pounding this in because it's so important. Yeah, data important for us. Data, raw unprocessed information, what we've been collecting for 30 years. Information, we could even kind of do this last couple, 5-10 years. The average, sum, distribution, things like that. Knowledge. Now, knowledge is that, hey, we understand what's going on. We have insight of how or why it happened. Then wisdom informs our future judgment in order to maximize an outcome. Yeah, I like this one. I always forgot I have this one here. Data, the ingredients. Recipe, that's the information, how you mix everything together. Knowledge, the technique. I know that I make a certain cookie, and I have to use a certain machine to make the eggs really fluffy, and I have to have it at a certain temperature. That's a knowledge. And wisdom. And wisdom goes beyond just making the ingredients. It's how to optimize that ingredient. Okay? I like a little bit more vanilla. I know that my wife likes a little bit more vanilla, but she can't have this or that. So I can change things around because I've been cooking for so long. I haven't, but to change the recipe and still make it better. And I believe, I was about to say that. I thought it was the last one. We have a couple more. Okay. I'm leaving this one up here for a second so you can look at it. Because it's that important. So it's the DIKW pyramid in the center. You can see that. Data, information, knowledge, wisdom. So since we just had a recipe analogy, you can use the recipe. So data is what it takes to make an ingredient. Well, operational-wise, we know that, hey, McDonald's needs 500,000 patties a day. Now, are we getting those patties or are we selling them short? Are we having them go bad? And then I know that next year I need to buy X amount of hamburger patties. Such a weird thing. I must be hungry, which I'm not. But so you see how that goes upwards like that. Then we go over to judgment, then actions and experience. In the summer here in Vegas, it's 180 degrees. We don't sell as many hamburger patties, so we need to, pull that down. And, so it's just continual feedback, self-improvement. And that's why businesses that follow this practice, that follow data-driven decision-making, do better. And then businesses that just ad hoc it often fail after a while. So I think this last one, same as the other one. Then let me know if you have, it just answers, questions and answers. We're getting rid of those. Let me make sure you can get set up. Make sure you take the syllabus quiz. Make sure you do the discussion. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to probably use a video from last semester for the demo. It works great to set up a collab. The syllabus quiz you can take multiple times, and it's like, hey, you read the syllabus. It's really easy. The demo setup, I think, or the demo quiz is, hey, I got my environment set up. Yes, no, boom, you pass. Again, discussion one, I'm a little bit more lenient on the first week. I just posting, hey, I'm Richard Young. I like camping, things like this. So I love AI because it allows me to dive into questions more deep. Yeah, there you go. So have a great day.